Thank you all for coming this morning. And we'll take, if there are any questions, we'll take them toward the end, and we'll begin. As many of you know, that for the past, since January, we've had this kind of 6-month practice period involving learning to live selflessly, less selfishly. And there have been lots of talks and intensives and retreats on this subject. And when I began it, I sent out a random kind of a note to maybe a dozen different members of the Sangha, asking them for titles for talks, because it's not just myself, but in the various Sanghas there are other members who give talks. And so we came up with a list of quite a lot of them. And probably, hopefully, a lot of them have been given on days when I'm not here. But I was looking at the list, and I saw one that went, and again, this was written by a member, Sangha as a door toward selflessness. How Sangha provides many opportunities to get past the myself, be it through generosity, confronting my issues, quote unquote, involving other people, surrendering to the wisdom of others, learning to put others first, or even just listening to others for a few minutes a week. So this was a topic that somebody put forward. And I know when I was here 2 weeks ago, because someone else had spoken the week before on generosity, I sort of put in my 2 cents. And if I remember correctly, one of the things I said was that we need to look at generosity not just in terms of actions, the way it often is. I mean, someone does generous actions, generous financially, or in other ways does kind of good works. And often that is the way we decide whether someone is practicing generosity. And what I presented was that actually generosity is the practice of non-self. Generosity is the expression of non-self. Because if we only look to actions, an action that outwardly appears to be generous may be contaminated deeply with self. Right? I mean, someone may be doing something financially generous, but very much doing it from a sense of, look at me, or how great I am, or I hope everybody notices, or even just a place of ego of feeling quite of self-importance, and one is really quite a generous person. In the same way, in generous actions, philanthropic actions, altruistic actions, social actions, which outwardly appear good and beneficial, and certainly at the level of action they may be, but from the point of view of this deeper practice of non-self, they may not be. There may be, at gross or subtle levels, a significant manipulation, where one is trying to get something for one's actions. And it can be, as I say, very obvious to oneself or not. So again, generosity really comes from cultivating a generous spirit that does not, a generous heart, a generous mind, does not see distinctions between self and other. So therefore, when one acts in ways that are kind or philanthropic or generous or giving in any way, it is not coming from, me doing for you, but it comes from a deeper sense of a we, or a non-me in you, or an us, in a sense that there's no separation between your needs and my needs, your suffering, my suffering, your happiness, my happiness. And when that self is erased from the equation, then the generosity naturally flows without any need for kind of creating it. Again, that's a deep practice to be able to live from that place of non-self. So I thought this was interesting, because it says Sangha as a door toward selflessness. Again, Sangha is that name, that Sanskrit name, that's given to the Buddhist community. Community, to me, community really means family. Community is like an extended family, and in the truest sense. It is not simply a network of people with similar interests. It is not an alliance of people with similar interests or goals. You know, there are many types of organizations in which one can belong to where there is that similarity of goal and intention and working together for something. But community, for me, involves family. And family means relationship. It does not mean just a working relationship. Many of us know about working relationships. But it involves caring for. It involves support. It involves openness. You know, it involves all those qualities that we bring to what we might consider family relationships. And the other interesting thing is, I think that we might all agree with about family, is that it involves responsibility. Right? So when we are in relationship with our family members, it is not only, again, an open kind of caring or loving or supporting, but it involves a sense of mutual responsibility, where we take responsibility and have a sense of responsibility to that other person, right? It's not, in other words, we are there for them whether we are feeling like it or not, right? That's that. You all know what I mean, because we have those kinds of relationships with people. And we know that it means many times we put aside our own needs, our own wants, our own likes or dislikes to be there to support and help another, someone who we care about. So I think this responsibility piece is very much part of when we talk about Sangha, when we talk about community, when we talk about the community that we are developing here in the Florida, you know, we call ourselves the Florida Community of Mindfulness, right? We didn't have to call ourselves community, did we? We could have just given ourselves a nice Dharma name. But we put community in for a very special reason, because that was our intention, to form a community, not just an alliance of practitioners, but a community in which not only do people sit side by side and practice the same practices together, but a community where people take responsibility for one another, care for one another, support one another, and are willing to put up with all you got to put up with when you have family. Everybody knows what we're talking about? Good. We're all in this together, right? So we know that family life is a practice. Relationship is a practice. And when we are committed to relationship as practice, in other words, not just as a place where I just get my needs met and I indulge myself and I satisfy my ego needs, but it really is a place of developing all the qualities that we prostrated to, that we touched the earth to this morning. Right? So what that means is, let's say in our community, we look forward to working together. Not just, because what we do here on Sunday is easy, right? You kind of come in, everybody's on their best behavior, we're pretty silent. We sit down next to each other. We basically are socialized enough that we can kind of follow the instructions and stand and rise and sit again. And, generally we can be happy with one another. And that's nice. But this is easy, isn't it? But when we work with each other, that's when the stuff comes out. And that's that is the environment in which we really learn about community. And so what this person said, Sangha as a door toward selflessness, how Sangha provides many opportunities to get past myself, is key. Because when we come to our spiritual community, to our Dharma community, to our community that we come to for healing and transformation, etc., most of us will come with our own agenda. We come as takers, don't we? There is something we want to get. And so we enter into the spiritual community primarily as takers. And again, that's kind of where we're at. Right? We often come because we are needy. We are needy for guidance. We are needy for finding a way out of all the places in our life that we are stuck, where we are caught, where we are addicted to habits that are fundamentally, when we have a moment of sanity or clarity, that we know are unsound or unhealthy, or even worse than that, create the opposite of what we want to create in our life. We want to create happiness, but we end up creating suffering. We want to create meaningful, loving relations, and we often end up creating conflict, etc. We want to lead an altruistic life, and yet we often find that our life is driven by the basis, most grossest of impulses. So because of that, we enter a spiritual community primarily to get something, to get a practice, to learn how to meditate, to kind of learn some fundamentals of how to guide this out-of-control mind and a lot of our out-of-control behaviors and our speech patterns that often embarrass us, that we feel regret for afterwards. And that's the way it is. Luckily, in a healthy spiritual community, when we enter it as takers, there are people there who can give. Right? There are people there who can give to us, who have done enough of their own healing and transformation that they have an experience of that they can give us support. They can give us guidance. They can give us teaching. Right? They can help us. So we can begin this process ourselves and get to a different place. But again, in a healthy community, just like in a healthy family, there is development, right? So the totally dependent child begins to develop capacities of their own, right? And as they develop, they are no longer just takers within the family. They can begin to give back a little bit. Relationships are no longer just all one-sided, but now relationships are more mutual. And we know in family life, that is the expectation for children. And that's really the expectation we have, hopefully, for our relationship with our siblings and our parents and aunts and uncles and cousins. It becomes more mutual, more mature, more grown up, where we take care of one another. So in our Sangha community, it is good if we are looking for community. Some people are not looking for community. They're really just looking for to learn techniques that they can bring into their lives and benefit, or they're just looking for a place to come on a regular basis to support their individual practice. But I think there are many others these days who are looking for community, who are looking for a deeper kind of relationship with other people and want to be part of a community that really lives or does its best to live according to the values that are most meaningful to us. And not only want to live according to those values, but want to help bring them into the world. Because, of course, what we do here, or what we do in our own individual life or our own community life, we are part of a broader world in which we want to be participants in the healing and transformation of the world. So what I'm sort of getting to today is a very interesting part of community life, which is work. Some of you might have noticed over these last 6 or 8 months, you get notices about work days, or you hear about, come on in during the week, there's work going on in the repair and the renovation of our home. And now that we've gone through some repairing and renovation, we have to maintain it. This is all kind of new for us, as well as a lot of the administrative stuff. There are lots of committees going on, committees in the library, and committees in the Mindfulness Institute, and committees in the renovation, and committees for the landscaping, and committees for the design, and Sangha care committees to care for the Sangha, both physically and as well as personally. So there's lots of opportunities to do good work. Now, one of the interesting things, of course, is when we enter into a work situation, which means we have to what? We have to put up with others. And that, for many of us, is not easy. Because many of us live our life according to our agendas, the way we think things should be done, our opinions, our likes, our dislikes, our choices. And so entering into a situation where we have to work with others and realize that others have their preferences, their ideas, their likes, their dislikes, their way of doing things, right? Forces us either to do it the way we've always done it. And how's the way we always done it? Judgmentally, egocentrically. And we think our ideas are better than everybody else's. We think our preferences are more important than everybody else's. And we think we have the scoop on everybody and everything. We got everybody else figured out. And so if we come into a community in a work situation like that, it will only create a continuation of the way it's always been. So it's very important, and the reason I'm talking about it, I think it's very important that as we work more with each other, and this not only means on the work days when we're physically working with each other, but in all the committees and things, that we really approach work as an essential practice. And in the Zen tradition, the Zen is a very interesting tradition within Buddhism, because traditionally in Asian Buddhism, up to Zen, and actually outside of Zen, monastics did not work. They basically, as you know, going back to the time of the Buddha, they would what? They would beg. Right? So they would go into the villages, they would go into the towns, and they would get their support from the lay community. But they didn't work. Their job was to study and practice and meditate, and working was not what they did. And so over time, really what happened was, as the Buddhist community went from being a community that was very itinerant to actually having set facilities, buildings, monasteries, residences, well, who was going to support all that? For those of us, who understand about paying the bills, if you're not working, who's going to pay the bills? Well, so what developed in Buddhism was supporters pay the bills, right? Because we are doing we're doing the essential work of meditating and studying and carrying on the rituals, and it's a job of other people to support us, right? And actually, at its best, that's a nice relationship, if it's very mutual. But what happened over time was it wasn't that easy. Because you see, even though you're supposed to be spending all your time meditating and studying, if you have more and more facilities that got to be taken care of, you need more support. If you need some more support, you have to spend more time soliciting funds, right? And the more time you spend soliciting funds, and especially if you're in a feudal society where there are those who have a lot and those who have a little, you have to be very what? You have to kowtow a lot to those who are really your biggest supporters, right? So you can see where this is going. Over time. So you find that the monasteries and the monks and the nuns are spending more and more time going out and getting funds and taking care of donors and giving more time to the special ones who, of course, want more, right? Because they're your biggest donor. So anyhow, along comes Zen, very down to earth, very earthy, and says, "The hell with it." A day of no work is a day of no eating. Great Pei Cheng, very famous statement in Zen. And all of a sudden it's saying, no, enough of this. Not only because does it create corruption institutionally. Secondly, we're having to devote more time to it, so we're having less time for meditating and practice. And three, because Zen is so fundamentally of one mind, right? What is the problem with working, right? I mean, is the Buddha mind, is the practice of mindfulness and awareness only something that goes on in formal meditation and study? Or is it not a practice that goes on continually, right? And so therefore, from that point of view, dividing it up to this is good work, meditating, studying, stuff, you know what I'm saying, doing ritual, that's good work. And then, sweeping, cleaning the toilets, cooking, tending the fields, that's what kind of work is that? What dirty work, or, for lower people. And of course then, because its viewpoint is the viewpoint of the Buddha mind, which is a mind that makes no distinctions between high and low, clean or dirty or anything, all of a sudden it says, no, right? Cleaning out the shit house equals cleaning the Buddhas, right? Very profound, and willing to take what could just be an abstract truth and brings it into the immediacy of experience. Exactly, this is very profound. Right? This is very profound. There's no high work and low work. There's no good work or bad work. That is simply a distinction created by the mind. So what you find traditionally in a very wonderful way, and I was very fortunate in my early days of Buddhist practice to enter a kind of more traditional Zen practice center, is is that when the works were assigned for 6-month or year-long periods, you could be 6 months head of the meditation hall, a big shot like Andrew, right? To sit up there with your bell and your this and your that. Everybody listens to you. You ring the bell, they stand. You ring the bell, they sit. You know what I mean? You're sort of a glorious kind of spiritual person. And then 6 months later, you could be on the, on the ditch digging staff, on the housekeeping staff, cleaning the bathrooms, cleaning the floors, right? 6 months later, you could be chopping vegetables. 6 months later, you could be the administrator. But can you see how wonderful that is from the point of view of practice? Because it does two things. It rids you of this notion of high and low. It rids you of your ego that goes, look how wonderful I am because I'm sitting up front, look how lowly I am, I'm cleaning the toilets, Andrew's in there ringing the bell, what's wrong with me? So all that mind-created garbage, right? All that suffering that the mind creates, that if one enters that spirit of non-discrimination in terms of work, one has a wonderful opportunity to liberate oneself. And again, one has lots of preferences, right? Most people would say, well, which would you rather do? Would you rather invite the bell or would you rather clean the toilets? And most people would say what? Invite the bell, right? Who'd like to clean the Buddha hall today, and who would like to be outside digging ditches? And most of us would go, I'll take the inside air-conditioned nice one, right? So again, to enter into the world of practice, work as practice, work practice, is to see that this is a wonderful opportunity to cleanse the mind of all these obscurations. Because we know that this Buddha mind has no limits. It just flows. Awareness just flows. It is just present, moment to moment. And all discrimination is being projected out from the conditioned mind. So we want to free it, right? And what a wonderful way to use work to go, In Zen, there's an expression which is, how does one live life? Bow and serve. The bowing means what? Yeah, respect and gratitude. And serve means, you tell me, right? You want me to clean the Buddha hall, I'll clean the Buddha hall. You want me to clean the bathrooms, I'll clean the bathrooms. Well, isn't that a wonderful mind? Equal, free, open, does not discriminate between high and low, clean and dirty. So please understand that when we work, especially when we come to work here at the center, please see your work not simply as, you know what I mean? In other words, we can come here because we're part of the community, we want to help out, right? We want to help out because we know there's work to be done, and the cleaning to be done, and maintenance to be done, and renovations to be done, and so we're good people, and we want to see it grow. So, you see, from that point of view, that's all good, but that's all the traditional stuff. In Zen, we're in the secret stuff. The secret stuff is what? The mind. See, you can't see that. Outwardly, we all look good, right? Like look today, we all look like Buddhas. Right? We're all sitting here, and we look so peaceful and calm. Who knows what's going on inside, right? That's the truth. But we understand that we're not here to hide. We're not here to pretend. We're here, so we want to rub up against our preferences, our likes and our dislikes, our conditioning, right? We want it to hurt a little bit, in a good way. And then it's because we have these wonderful practices, these practices of mindfulness, these practices of equanimity, these practices of non-self, right? These practices of patience, these practices of non-judgment, these practices of generosity, that we have a way of coming to these situations and using the situations for transformation. And I would say, everything I'm saying about working here, please take that into your own work. It should be the same. Because when we go to work, right, we do the same thing. We think what? Everybody's there for who? For me. To meet my needs, to do it my way, to see it my way, right? And when it doesn't unfold that way, we get what? Irritated, even angry, resentful, right? Disappointed, disgusted, right? We have the whole range of emotions because why? Because we have this self that comes into every situation and wants to turn it all and make it all about me. And we think, if we are totally 100% ensnared in that that's just the way it is, and my job in life is to turn every situation around so it goes my way. That is called the path of suffering in Buddhism, because that'll never work. And it only creates its opposite. Our path is the way of understanding. When we understand how things are, we're able to enter into every situation freely and openly, without conditions, without agendas. And when you have that, then to work intelligently and skillfully with every situation is not so difficult. But if we have very rigid self-criteria, and we have very rigid agendas and many people enter every situation with agendas, and we don't even know it. We think it's real. We think it's in the situation. The toilet does not think it's dirty. Right? The toilet would be probably quite hurt if it knew that most people wouldn't want to clean it because it thinks it's dirty. Right? From the toilet's point of view, it's as worthy as the altar, isn't it? Yeah. We want to understand that. In Buddhism, that's called the wisdom of equality. Right. Right. From the side of conditioning, from the side of relativity, from the side of appearances, everything seems different. And this is this, and some are higher and some are lower, some are pretty, some are ugly, some are good, some are bad, some are nice, some are not nice, right? But that's all being projected by the mind, by the fabrication. From the point of view of reality, things are just what they are, aren't they? The toilet bowl thinks it's as important as the Buddha. Why should I be dirty and it be clean? Right. So that is why if you go into a Zen monastery and you go into the bathroom, there'll be a Buddha, an altar. There'll be an altar in the kitchen. It's really wonderful. That's very unique to Zen. I remember going into some other Buddhist traditions, and I just kind of mentioned it. They looked at me like disgust, right? The monks or the abbots. Because why? Because for them the bathroom was what? A dirty place. Bad things go on there. Right? So you would never put a Buddha in there. A Buddha is just in the Buddha hall. Everything's nice and clean and beautiful. But Zen, no, the Buddha is everywhere. Our Buddha nature is everywhere. And everything participates in our Buddha nature. So there should be, so when we come into the kitchen, we should come into the kitchen in the same way we come into the meditation hall. When we go into the bathroom, we should go into the bathroom in the same way. Present, mindful, aware. Right? So that, I guess, brings me to my next point about work. I talked about how to approach work. But how to do the work is also very important. And especially, I think we have a work day coming up. Next Saturday. So we have a work day. So I talked a little bit about how to approach it and how to work with others. But then in terms of the work itself, we should be working in the same way that we do sitting and walking meditation. In other words, we should be 100% present to the work. We should not be working. Many of us, we are, work is something we want to get away from, right? Many people do not like their work. So they may be kind of physically present, but they're trying to use as little of themselves as possible, because they don't want to be there, do they? Anybody know anybody like that? They don't want to be there. Right? Many people are that way in their work. Many people are that way in other parts of their life. They're in it, but they don't really want to be there. So I'll just give it as little as I can. But there's a problem with that. A fundamental, big problem. Because the problem is whether we want to be there or not, whether we like being there or not, the truth is what? We are there. That's the truth. That's reality. We are there. If you can get out of there next week, great. But right now, that's where you are, and that's where your life is then. Right now, this is where my life is, wherever I am. And if I'm at work 8 hours a day, 40 hours, that's a significant part of my life that I'm not present to. And I'm not seeing that it's an opportunity for me to live the life of a Buddha. The life of a Buddha is a life of total presence. 100%. Nothing left over. So whatever work you're doing, how you do it is the same way we do our meditation. We are 100% with it. 100% means nothing left over. Nothing held back. We're totally in the experience. And there's not a lot of thinking. There's not a lot of mental chatter. There's not a lot of judgment. I like it. I don't like it. I want to be doing it. I don't want to be doing it. Again, that's all being projected by what? Our mind, ourselves. That's all fabrication. If whatever one's doing, if one does it 100%, 100 present, and the mind is open, the mind is relaxed, and the mind is just totally involved, whatever the physical action is, it is then a meditative practice. And a meditative practice is a practice that has the capacity to liberate us, to make us happy. As well as if we're not looking over, a lot of us are looking over our shoulders, right? We're going, hey, how come nobody else is working as hard as me? Right? Anybody know that one? Hey, how come I'm the only one here? Right? Somebody may be a volunteer at the center and come in and on work days and we look around going, hey, where are all the others? Right? How come me? Poor me. That kind of mind state, the kind of mind state that looks around, judges, is not a healthy mind state. Because we're following the path of what? Of service, right? We're following the path of non-self, right? So if I'm the only one here and no one else has shown up, what a great opportunity, right? I can do everything. I can really be of service today. Right? What a wonderful opportunity. No judgment, no evaluation, no, I'm only here just for myself. This is my practice. I'm practicing letting go. I'm practicing having a generous heart. I'm practicing service, right? That's my practice. Instead, I'll come here and I'll go, hey, where's Andrew? He's probably home enjoying himself today, right? I'm here working. Not fair. That's that mind of ours. Right? So when we work, we just work for ourselves. We work from our own motivation. In this practice, there's only one person whose behavior of body, speech, and mind we need to be on top of. Do you know who that is? Yeah, it's ourselves. And if we're really a good practitioner, we should take that into the world. Right? Most people are going, oh, how did I end up in this world with all these other people? With all their values and all their this and all their that. I can't. Somebody like me deserves a better world. Right? Where everybody's like me. That's the kind of world I'd like, right? Everybody has my values and my outlook. What a wonderful world that would be. How did I end up in this world? Our job is to have personal integrity. Personal integrity means in the actions of my body, it means all the activities of my body, all the activities of my speech, of my words, and most importantly, all the activities of my mind, that all of that be congruent with my values, with my aspiration, right? Now, I'm speaking personally, I find that a full-time job. Right, just caretaking this guy. Who's got time for caretaking everybody else? But most of us like to skip over this one, right? We like to caretake everybody else. Get everybody else shaped up. When we haven't even shaped ourselves up yet. So, again, work is a wonderful opportunity. Community, family is a wonderful opportunity to really lead the kind of life that we say we want to live. Let me just say another thing about work is it's an interesting thing, because in Buddhism we know that one of the things that we hear in Zen is not to be attached to outcome, right? Which is a little tricky, because when you are working, there is an expected outcome, isn't there? Right? So the trick is, we enter a job that has an expected outcome, and that's given. When we're doing it, we are just involved with the process, and we are not attached to the outcome. If we're doing the process right, the outcome will take care of itself. So we are not, we're not forward. We're in the present. When we're not attached to the outcome, there isn't all that grasping. There isn't all that happiness when it turns out, unhappiness when it doesn't turn out. There's no disappointment, there's no hope. There's the freedom just to let the process involve. You do your best, and when the outcome is arrived at, you then what? Take a look at it, right? And if the outcome is acceptable, then you're fine. If the outcome needs a little tweaking, then you tweak it, right? But the important thing is, when you're doing the work, you are present. 100% present. Then work becomes enjoyable. Then time goes by quickly. Then you're always happy. But most people live only for the outcome, and they are dismissive of the process. You know, I always thought that, that expression, thank God it's Friday. You've heard that, right? Very common, isn't it? I always thought that was sad. Because if you say, thank God it's Friday, it says, what about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and every bit of Friday up to quitting time? But in our society, we are trained to think that that's good thinking. Right? That it's okay to hate what you do. That life is about looking forward, to Friday, looking forward to the weekend, looking forward to vacation. People are always looking forward. But if you're always looking forward, what does that tell you about the way you're looking at your daily life? It's less than, isn't it? And again, like we talked earlier, we want to elevate life that all experiences, all day, we approach with the same level of commitment, and we find every moment meaningful. Washing the dishes, sweeping the floor is a very meaningful act. It's not lowly. It's not less than. Everything we do, we should do with care. Whether we're caring for the dirty dishes, whether we're caring for the dirty floors, whether we're caring for another human being. Right? Everything we do should be done with this kind of attentiveness and this kind of caring and this kind of presence. And when you learn to live your whole day and you approach everything you do that way, then life becomes a seamless whole of goodness and happiness and ease. And what I am suggesting here is not that hard to do. It's not that hard to do. It takes, it takes a vision. It takes a commitment. It takes an attentiveness and a mindfulness and a presence to carry it out. But it's, one can certainly develop this capacity. This is called the path to Buddhahood. And we all have that capability. Wherever we are starting from, we all have the capability of moving our life in this direction. When do we stop here? Oh, just 5 minutes. So any questions about about what's been discussed this morning? Anything not clear or any questions? Again, work is wonderful. All human beings work. We work, right? And so we don't want to, we want to elevate work so it becomes, whatever we're doing, a meaningful part of our life. Good. I think you all get that. So we'll end for today.